Dancing at Lugnasa. Tonight, playing Kate Mundy.
Elizabeth Bove.
Playing Maggie Mundy.
SYLVIE Hartley.
Playing Christina Mundy.
Lynne.
Playing Rose Mundy.
Ticknor.
Playing Agnes Mundy.
Heather Violanti.
Playing Michael Evans.
Barry.
Playing Gerry Evans.
Chris Carlson.
And playing Father Jack. One.
I know you know the act of contrition, Tom.
And may the Lord be with you.
With you.
When the play opens, Michael is standing downstage left in a pool of light. The rest of the stage is in darkness. Immediately, Michael begins speaking slowly around the stage, and at a distance from Michael, the other characters stand motionless in a formal tableau. Maggie is in the kitchen window. Chris is in the front door. Kate is extreme stage right. Rose and Gerry sit on the garden seat. Jack stands beside Rose. Agnes is upstage. They hold these positions while Michael talks to the audience.
When I cast my mind back to that summer of 1936, different kinds of memories offer themselves to me. We got our first wireless set that summer. Well, a sort of set, and it obsessed us. And because it arrived as August was about to begin, my Aunt Maggie, she was the joker of the family, she suggested we give it a name. She wanted to call it Lou, after the old Celtic god of the harvest. Because in the old days, August the 1st was La Lugnasa, the feast day of the pagan god Lu, and the days and weeks of harvesting that followed were called the Festival of Lugnasa. But Aunt Kate, she was a national school teacher and a very proper woman. She said it would be sinful to Christian an inanimate object with any kind of a name, not to talk of a pagan god. So we just called it Marconi, because that was the name emblazoned on the set. And about 3 weeks before we got that wireless, my mother's brother, my Uncle Jock, came back home from Africa for the first time ever. For 25 years he had worked in a leper colony there, in a remote village called Rayanga in Uganda. The only time he ever left that village was for about 6 months during World War I, when he was chaplain to the British Army in East Africa. Then back to that grim hospice, where he worked without a break for a further 18 years. And now, in his early 50s and in bad health, he had come home to Ballybeg, as it turned out, to die. And when I cast my mind back to that summer of 1936, these two memories of our first wireless and of Father Jack's return are always linked. So that when I recall my first shock at Jack's appearance, shrunken and jaundiced with malaria, at the same time I remember my first delight, indeed my awe, at the sheer magic of that radio. And when I remember the kitchen throbbing with the beat of Irish dance music beamed to us all the way from Athlone, and my mother and her sisters suddenly catching hands and dancing a spontaneous step dance and laughing, screaming like excited schoolgirls at the same time, I see that forlorn figure of Father Jack shuffling from room to room as if he was searching for something but couldn't remember what. And even though I was only a child of 7 at the time, I knew I had a sense of unease, some awareness of a widening breach between what seemed to be and what was, of things changing too quickly before my eyes, of becoming what they ought not to be. That may have been because Uncle Jock hadn't turned out at all like the resplendent figure in my head. Or maybe I had witnessed Marconi's voodoo derange those kind, sensible women and transform them into shrieking strangers. Or maybe it was because during those Lugnasa weeks of 1936, we were visited on 2 occasions by my father Gerry Evans, and for the first time in my life, I had a chance to observe him.
Lighting changes. The kitchen and garden are now lit for a warm summer afternoon. Michael, Kate, Gerry, and Father Jack go off. The others busy themselves with their tasks. Maggie makes a mash for hens. Agnes knits gloves. Rose carries a basket of turf into the kitchen and empties it into the large box beside the range. Chris irons at the kitchen table. They all work in silence. Then Chris stops ironing, goes to the tiny mirror on the wall, and scrutinizes her face.
When are we going to get a decent mirror to see ourselves in?
You can see enough to do you.
I'm going to throw this old crack thing out.
Indeed, you're not, Chrissy. I'm the one that broke it. And the only way to avoid 7 years of bad luck is to keep on using it.
You can see nothing in it.
Except more and more wrinkles.
Do you know what I think I might do? I think I might just stop wearing lipstick.
Do you hear this, Maggie?
Steady on, girl. Today's lipstick, tomorrow it's the gin bottle.
I think I just might.
As long as Kate's not around, do you want to make a pagan of yourself?
Far too pale. And the old mousy hair. Needs a bit of colour.
What for?
Much indeed. Make a nice dress, that, wouldn't it? God forgive me.
Will you come to Abyssina? Will you come? Bring your own cup and saucer and a bun. Mussolini will be here with his airplanes in the air. Will you come to Abyssina? Will you come? Not bad, Maggie, eh?
You should be on the stage, Rose.
And not a bad bit of leg, Maggie, eh?
Rose, Mundy, where's your modesty?
Good, Maggie, good, good. Look, Agnes, look.
The right pair of pagans, the two of you.
Turn on Marconi, Chrissy.
I've told you 12 times, the battery's dead.
It is not. It went for me a while ago.
She goes to the set, switches it on. There's a sudden loud 3-second blast of the British Grenadiers. And Rose says,
You see? Tickle Rosie.
and the music dies.
Told you.
That old set's useless.
Kate will have a new battery pack with her.
If it's the battery that's wrong.
Is Abyssina in Africa, Aggie?
Yes.
Is there a war there?
Yes, I've told you that.
But that's not where Father Jack was, is it?
Jack was in Uganda, Rosie. That's a different part of Africa. You know that.
Yes, I do. I know that.
Will you vote for the Valera? Will you vote? If you don't, we'll be like Gandhi with his goat. Uncle Bill from Battingless has a wireless at his. Will you vote? For the Lavara, will you vote? I'll tell you something, Rosie. The pair of us should be on the stage.
The pair of us should be on the stage, Aggie.
Hmm?
What's that son of yours out there?
God no, as long as he's quiet.
He's making something. Looks like a kite. Oh, that was the wrong thing to do. He's going to have your hair, Chris.
Mine's like a wind bush. Will you wash it for me tonight, Maggie?
Are we all for a big dance somewhere?
After I put Michael to bed, what about then?
I'm your man.
Pity there aren't more boys about to play with.
Now you're talking. Couldn't we all do with that?
Maggie.
Wouldn't it be just great if we had a...
What is it?
Thought I heard Father Jack at the back door. Hope Kate remembers his quinine.
You remember, Kate forgets nothing.
There's going to be pictures in the hall next Saturday, Aggie. I think maybe I'll go.
Yes?
I might be meeting someone there.
Who's that?
I'm not saying.
Do we know him?
I'm not saying.
You'll enjoy that, Rosie. You loved the last picture we saw.
and he wants to bring me back up to the back hills next Sunday, up to Laugana. His father has a boat there, and I'm thinking maybe I'll bring a bottle of milk with me, and I've enough money saved to buy a packet of chocolate biscuits.
Danny Bradley is a scut, Rose.
I never said it was Danny Bradley.
He's a married man with 3 young children.
And that's just where you're wrong, Missy. So there. She left him 6 months ago, Aggie, and went to England.
Rose, love, we just want...
And who are you to talk, Christina? Mundy, don't you dare lecture me.
Everybody in town knows that Danny Bradley is...
Oh, and you're jealous, too. That's what's wrong with all of you. You're jealous of me. He calls me his rosebud. He waited for me outside the chapel gate last Christmas morning, and he gave me this.
She opens her apron. A charm and a medal are pinned to her jumper.
That's for my rosebud, he said.
Is it a fish, Rosie?
Isn't it lovely? It's made of pure silver, and it brings you good luck.
It is lovely.
I wear it all the time, beside my miraculous medal. I love him, Aggie.
I know.
Bastard.
Rose closes the front of her apron. She is on the point of tears. Silence. Now Maggie lifts her hen bucket and using it as a dancing partner. She does a very fast and exaggerated tango across the kitchen floor as she sings in her parodic style the words from the Isle of Capri.
Summertime was near, we all were, blue Italian skies above. I said, Mister, I'm a rower, can't you spare a sweet word of love? Chick, 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 chicky.
For God's sake, I have an iron in there.
How was I to know?
Don't you see me ironing? Now you've lost it. Get out of me road, will you?
Rosie, love, would you give me a hand with this? If we don't work a bit faster, we'll never get 24 pairs finished this week.
The convention must now be established that the imaginary boy Michael is working at the kit materials lying on the ground. No dialogue with the boy Michael must ever be addressed directly to adult Michael, the narrator. Here, for example, Maggie has her back to the narrator. Michael responds to Maggie in his ordinary narrator's voice. Maggie enters the garden from the back of the house.
What are these supposed to be?
Kites.
Kites. God help you with.
But watch where you're walking, Aunt Maggie. You're standing on a tail.
Do it squeal? I'll make a deal with you. Come. I'll give you a penny if those things ever leave the ground, right?
You're wrong.
I've new riddles for you.
Give up.
What goes around the house and sits in the corner? A broom. Why is a river like a watch?
You're pathetic.
Because it never goes far without winding. Hairy out and hairy in. Lift your foot and stab it in. What is it?
Give up.
Think.
Give up.
Have you even one brain in your head?
Give up.
A sock.
What?
A sock, you know? Lift your foot and stab it in. See? Did you know what your trouble is called? You're a buck stupid.
Look out! There's a rat!
Where? Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, where is it?
I caught you again, Aunt Maggie.
You evil wee brat. God forgive you. I'll get you for that. Michael, don't you worry. I won't forget that. And I had a barley sugar sweet for you.
Well, there are bits of cigarette tobacco stuck to it.
Disguise. Someday, you're gonna put some woman's life full of happiness. Chick, 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 chick.
When I saw Uncle Jack for the first time, the reason I was so shocked by his appearance was that I expected Well, I suppose the hero from a schoolboy's book. Well, once I had seen a photograph of him radiant and splendid in his officer's uniform. It had fallen out of Aunt Kate's prayer book, and she snatched it from me before I could study it in detail. It was a picture taken in 1917, when he was chaplain to the British forces in East Africa, and he looked magnificent. But Aunt Kate had been involved locally in the War of Independence, so Father Jock's brief career in the British Army was never referred to in that house. All the same, the wonderful Father Jock of that photo was the image of him that lodged in my mind. But if he was a hero to me, he was a hero and a saint to my mother and to my aunts. They pored over his occasional letters. They prayed every night for him and his lepers and the success of his mission. They scraped and saved for him sixpence here, a shilling there, sacrifices they made willingly, joyously, so that they would have a little money to send him at Christmas and for his birthday. And every so often, when a story would appear in the Donegal Inquirer about our own leper priest, as they called him, because Ballybeg was proud of him, I mean, the whole of Donegal was proud of him, it was only natural that our family would enjoy a small share of that fame. It gave us a little bit of status in the eyes of the parish. And it must have helped my aunts to bear the shame that mother brought on the household by having me, as it was called then, out of wedlock.
Kate enters laden with shopping bags. When she sees the boy working at his kites, her face lights up with pleasure. She watches him for a few seconds, then she goes to him.
Well, that's what I call a busy man. Come here and give your Aunt Kate a big kiss. And what's all this?
Kites.
It's a kite, is it? It certainly is two kites, and they're the most wonderful kites I've ever seen. And what are these designs?
Well, they're faces. I painted them.
Oh, good Lord. They put the heart across me. You did those? Oh, God bless us. Those are scarifying. What are they? Devils? Ghosts? I wouldn't like to see those lads up in the sky looking down at time. Hold on now. Do you know what this is? Of course you do. A spinning top. Good boy. And this is the whip. You know how to use it? Indeed you do. What do you say?
Thanks.
Thank you, Aunt Kate. And do you know what I have in here? A new library book with colored pictures. We'll begin reading it at bedtime. Call me the moment you're ready to fly them. I wouldn't miss that for all the world. Do you know what he's at out there? Did you see Christina? Making two kites.
Some kites he'll make.
All by himself. No help from anybody.
You always said he was talented, Kate.
No question about it. And very mature for his years.
Very cheeky for his years.
I think he's beautiful, Chris. I wish he was mine.
Is that a spinning top he has?
It's nothing.
Oh, Kate, you haven't spoiled. Where did you get it?
Morgan's Arcade.
And I'm sure he didn't even thank you.
I know why you went into Morgan's.
He did indeed. He's very mannerly.
You wanted to see Austin Morgan.
Every field along the road, they're all out at the hay and the corn.
Because you have a notion for that old Austin Morgan.
Going to be a good harvest by the look of it.
I know you have. She's blushing. Look, isn't she blushing?
You need to put a stitch in that hem, Rosie.
But what you don't know is he's going with the wee young thing from Kerkerford.
Rose, what Austin Morgan does or doesn't do with.
Oh, why are you blushing then? She's blushing, isn't she? Why, Katie?
For God's sake, Rose, shut up, would you?
Anyway, we all know you always had a...
Rosie, pass me those steel needles, would you? Please.
Are you tired?
Yeah, that road to the town gets longer every day. You can laugh if you want, but I'm going to get that old bike fixed up and I'm going to learn to ride this winter.
Many about Ballybeg?
Ballybeg's of its head. I'm telling you, everywhere you go, everyone you meet, it's the one topic. Are you going to the harvest dance? Who are you going with? What are you wearing? This year's going to be the biggest ever and the best ever.
All the same, I remember some great harvest dances.
Don't we all?
Another one of those riveting Annie M.P. Smithson novels for you, Agnes.
Ah, thanks.
The Marriage of Nurse Harding. Oh, dear. For you, Christina, 1 teaspoon every morning before breakfast.
What's this?
Cod liver oil. You're far too pale.
Thank you, Kate.
Because you take no exercise. Anyhow, I'm in the chemist shop, and this girl, a wee sip of a thing, can't even remember her name. Her mother's the knitting agent that buys your gloves, Agnes.
Vera McLaughlin.
Her daughter, whatever you call her.
Sophia.
Miss Sophia, who must be all of 15. She comes up to me and she says, I hope you're not going to miss the harvest dance, Miss Mundy. It's going to be just supreme this year. And honest to God, if you'd seen the delight in her eyes, you'd think it was heaven she was talking about. I'm telling you, off her head, like a fever in the place. That's the quinine. The doctor says it won't cure the malaria, but it might help to contain it. Is he in his room?
He's wandering about up the back somewhere.
I told the doctor you thought him very quiet, Agnes.
Yes.
Well, didn't you? And the doctor says we must remember how strange everything here must be to him after so long. And on top of that, Swahili has been his language for 25 years, so that it's not that his mind is confused, it's just that he has difficulty finding English words for what he wants to say.
No matter what the doctor says, Kate, his mind is a bit confused. Sometimes he doesn't know the difference between us. I've heard him calling you Rose, and he keeps calling me some strange name like...
Okawa.
That's... Like you've heard him, haven't you?
Okawa was his houseboy. He was very attached to him. Oh, I think I'm going to get corns on this foot. I hope to God I don't end up crippled like poor mother. May she rest in peace.
Wouldn't it be a good one if we all went?
Went where?
To the harvest dance.
Aggie!
Just like we used to, all dressed up. I think I'd go.
I go too, Aggie. I'd go with you.
For heaven's sake, you're not serious, Agnes, are you?
I think I am.
There's more than Ballybeg off its head.
I think we all should go.
Have you any idea what it'll be like? Crawling with cheeky brats that I taught years ago?
I'm game.
We couldn't, Aggie. Could we?
And all the riffraff of the countryside?
In game.
Oh God, you know how I loved dancing, Aggie.
What do you say?
You have a 7-year-old child. Have you forgotten that?
You could wear that blue dress of mine. You have the figure for it and it brings out the colour of your eyes.
Can I have it? God, Aggie, I could dance non-stop all night, all week, all month.
And who'd look after Father Jack?
And you look great in that cotton dress you got for confirmation last year. You're beautiful in it, Kate.
What sort of silly talk is this?
And you can wear my brown shoes with the crossover strap.
This is silly talk. We can't, Agnes. How can we?
Will Maggie go with us?
Well, Maggie, what? Try to stop her.
Oh, God, Agnes, what do you think?
We're going.
Are we?
We're off. We're away.
Maybe we're mad. Are we mad?
It costs 4 and 6 to get in.
I've got £5 saved. I'll take you.
Now,
I'll
hold
take
on
us
now.
all.
Hold on now.
How many years has it been since we were at the harvest dance? It's any dance. And I don't care how young they are, how drunk and dirty and sweaty they are. I want to dance, Kate. It's the festival of Lugnasa. I'm only 35. I want to dance.
I know, Agnes, I know. All the same, oh my God, I don't know if
It's
it's...
settled. We're going. The Mundy girls, all 5 of us together.
Like we used to.
Like we used to.
I love you, Aggie, more than all the chocolate biscuits.
No, we're going nowhere.
If we all want to go.
Look at yourselves, will you? Just look at yourselves. Dancing at our time of day. That's for young people with no duties and no responsibility and nothing in their heads but pleasure.
Kate, I think we...
Do you want the whole countryside to be laughing at us? Women of our years, mature women dancing. What's come over you? All this is Father Jack's home. We must never forget that. Ever. No. No. We're going to no harvest dance.
But you just said.
And there'll be no more discussion about it. The matter's over. I don't want to mention it again.
The fox is back.
Did you see him?
He has a hole chewed in the hen house door.
Did you get a look at him, Aunt Maggie?
Wasn't I talking to him? He was asking for you.
Ha, ha, ha! What is that you have in your hands?
Something I found.
What?
Sitting very still at the foot of the holly tree.
Show me.
Say please 3 times.
Please, please, please.
In Swahili.
Are you going to show it to me or not?
Now, Cup, put your ear over here. Listen. Do you hear it?
I think so, yes.
What do you hear?
Something.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. Show me,
Oh.
Aunt Maggie.
Ready? Get back a bit. A bit further, right?
Yes.
Did you see it?
I think so, yes.
Wasn't it wonderful?
Was it a bird?
Oh, the colors are so beautiful. Trouble is, just one quick glimpse. That's all you ever get. And if you miss that,
What was it, Aunt Maggie?
don't you know what it was? It was all in your mind. Now we are quits.
Tea, soap, Indian meal, jelly.
Ugh, I'm sick of that white rooster of yours, Rosie. Some pat that. Look at the lump he took out of my arm.
You don't speak to him right.
I know the speaking he'll get from me. The weight of my boot. Would you put some turf on that fire, Chrissy? I'm gonna make some soda bread.
Watch out. She's in one of her cranky moods.
Your 10 wild woodbine, Maggie.
Great, the tongue is out a mile.
You missed it all, Maggie.
What did I miss this time?
We were all going to go to the harvest dance, like the old days. And then Kate.
Your shoes, Rose? The shoes maker says, whatever kind of feet you have, only the insides of the soles wear down.
Is that a bad thing?
That is neither a bad thing nor a good thing, Rose. It's just distinctive, as might be expected. Ah, cornflour, salt, tapioca. It's gone up a penny for some reason. Sugar for the bilberry jam. And if we ever get the bilberries.
Look at the packet of wild woodbine she got me.
What's wrong with it?
Only 9 cigarettes in it. They are so wild, one of them must have escaped with her.
Doesn't Jack sometimes call you Okawa too, Maggie?
Yes, what does it mean?
Okawa was his houseboy, Kate says.
Damn it. I thought it was Swahili for gorgeous.
Maggie,
That's the very thing we could do it here. A houseboat.
And the battery. The man in the shop says we go through these things quicker than anyone in Ballybeg.
Good for us.
I met the parish priest. I don't know what has happened to that man, but ever since Father Jack came home, he can hardly look me in the eye.
That's because you keep winking at him, Kate.
He was always moody, that man.
Maybe that's it. The paper, candles, matches, the word's not good on that young Sweeney boy from the back hills. He was anointed last night.
I didn't know he was dying.
Not an inch of his body that isn't burned.
does anybody know what happened?
Oh, some silly prank up in the hills. He knows he's dying, the poor boy. Just lies there, moaning.
What sort of prank?
How would I know?
What are they saying in the town?
I know no more than I've told you, Christina.
It was last Sunday week, the first night of the Festival of Lugnasa, and they were doing what they do every year up in the back hills.
Festival of Lugnasa. What sort of?
Well, first they light a bonfire beside a spring wall, then they dance around it, and then they drive their cattle through the flames to banish the devil out of them.
Banish that. You don't know the first thing about
And
what...
this year there was an extra big crowd of boys and girls, and they were off their heads with drink. And young Sweeney's trousers caught fire, and he went up like a torch. That's what happened.
Who filled your head with that nonsense?
They do it every Lugnasa, I'm telling you. That's what happened.
And they're savages. I know those people from the back hills. I've taught them. Savages. That's what they are. And what pagan practices they have are no concern of ours. None whatsoever. It's a sorry day to hear talk like that in a Christian home, a Catholic home. All I can say is that I'm shocked and disappointed to hear you repeat and rubbish like that, Rose.
That's what happened, I'm telling you.
All the same, it would be very handy in the winter time to have a wee house boy to feed the hens.
Father Jack enters, thick woolen socks, no clerical collar. He walks, shuffles quickly with his hands behind his back. He seems uneasy, confused, scarcely any trace of an Irish accent.
I beg your pardon, the wrong apartment. Forgive me.
Come in and join us, Jack.
May I?
Maggie,
May I?
Maggie. Where's Maggie? You're looking well, Jack.
You're looking well, Jack.
Oh, yes. I expected to enter my bedroom through that. What am I missing? What I require? I had a handkerchief in my pocket, and I think perhaps.
Here's a handkerchief.
Thank you. I am grateful. It's so strange. I don't remember the architecture, the planning. Oh, what's the word? The layout. No, I didn't recall the layout of the home. Scarcely. This is strange, isn't it? I thought the front door was there. Walk to the village to my store, Agnes.
It's Kate. And dozens of people were asking for you.
They remember me.
Of course they remember you. And then you're feeling stronger. And when you're feeling stronger, they're going to have a great public welcome for you. Flags, bands, speeches, everything.
Why would they do this?
Because they're delighted you're back.
Yes?
Because they're delighted you're home.
Wait, I don't remember them. I couldn't name 10 people in Ballybeg now.
It'll all come back to you. Don't worry.
I think so.
Yes, it will.
Perhaps. I feel the climate's so cold. If you'll forgive me.
Well, why don't you go lie down for a while?
I may do that. Thank you. You're most kind.
Oh, it will be a slow process, but he'll be fine. Apples, butter, margarine, flour. And wait till you hear. Who did I meet in the post office? Maggie? Are you listening to me?
Yes.
You'll never believe it. Your old pal, Bernie O'Donnell, home from London. First time back in 20 years.
Bernie.
Absolutely gorgeous. The figure of a girl of 18, dressed to kill from head to foot. And the hair, as black and as curly as the day she left. I can't tell you. A film star.
Bernie O'Donnell.
And besides her, two of the most beautiful children you've ever laid your eyes on, twins. They'll be 14 next month. And to see the three of them together like sisters, I'm telling you.
Twin girls.
Identical.
Identical?
Nora and Nina.
Mother used to say twins were a double blessing.
Bernie O'Donnell.
And wait till you hear. They are pure blonde. Where in the name of God did the blonde hair come from? I asked her. The father, Eric, she says. He's from Stockholm.
Stockholm.
Where's Stockholm, Aggie?
So there you are. Bernie O'Donnell, married to a Swede. I couldn't believe my eyes. But the same bubbly, laughing, happy Bernie, asking about everybody by name.
Maggie goes to the window.
Sorry.
Goes to the window, looks out so others cannot see her face. She holds her hands covered with flour out from her body.
She remembered us all.
Knew all about Michael, had his age to the very month. Was Agnes still the quickest knitter in Ballybeg? Were none of us thinking of getting married? And weren't we wise?
Did she remember me?
Rose had the sweetest smile I ever saw.
There.
But asking specifically for you, Maggie, how you were doing, what you were doing, how you were looking, were you as lighthearted as ever? Every time she thinks of you, she says she has a memory of the two of you hiding behind the turf stack, passing a cigarette between you and laughing about somebody called, what was it, a Curly somebody.
Curly McDade. Oh, an Egypt of a fella. Bold as an egg at 17. Bernie O'Donnell. Oh my goodness.
Will she be around for a while?
Leaving tomorrow.
We won't see her, so that's a pity.
Nice names, aren't they? Nina and Nora.
I like Nora. Nice name, strong name.
Not so sure about Nina. Do you like Nina for a name?
Nina? No, not a lot.
Well, if there's a Saint Nina, I'm afraid she's not in my prayer book.
Maybe she's a Swedish saint.
Saints in Sweden. What'll be next?
Mother used to say twins are a double blessing.
You've offered us that cheap wisdom already, Rose.
You've got some flour on your nose, Maggie.
Oh. When I was 16, I remember sleeping out one Sunday night. It was this time of a year, the beginning of August, and Bernie and I met at the gate of the workhouse, and the pair of us off to a dance in Artstraw. I was being pestered by a fellow called Tim Carlin at the time, but it was really Brian McGuinness that I was keen on. Remember Brian? With the white hands and the longest eyelashes you ever saw? But of course, he was crazy about Bernie. Anyhow, the two boys took us on the bar of their bikes, and off the four of us headed to Artstraw, 15 miles each way. If Daddy had known, may he rest in peace. And at the end of the night, there was a competition for the best military two-step. And it was down to 3 couples. The local pair from Artstraw, Timmy and myself. He was up to there on me, and Brian and Bernie. And they were just so beautiful together, so stylish. You couldn't take your eyes off them. People just stopped dancing and gazed at them. And when the judges announced the winners, they were probably blind drunk. Naturally, the local couple came first, and Timmy and myself came second, and Brian and Bernie came third. Poor Bernie was stunned. She couldn't believe it, couldn't talk. Wouldn't speak to any of us for the rest of the night. Wouldn't even cycle home with us. She was right too, and should have won. They were just so beautiful together. And that's the last time I saw Brian McGuinness. Remember Brian with the, and the next thing I heard, he had left for Australia. She was right to the angry Bernie. But I know it was fair. It wasn't fair, and it wasn't fair at all. I mean, they must have been blind drunk, those judges, whoever they were.
Agnes stands motionless, standing out the window, seeing nothing. The others drift back to their tasks. Rose and Agnes knit. Kate puts the groceries away. Chris connects the battery.
Is it working now, Christina?
What's that?
Marconi.
Marconi, yes. Yes, should be.
She switches the set on and returns to her ironing. The music, at first scarcely audible, is an Irish dance music, the Mason's Apron, played by a SYLVIE band. Very fast, very heavy beat, a raucous sound. At first we're aware of the beat only, then as the volume increases, slowly we hear the melody. For about 10 seconds, until the sound has established itself, the women continue their tasks. Then Aggie turns round, her head is cocked to the beat, to the music. She is breathing deeply and rapidly. Now her features become animated by a look of defiance, of aggression, a crude mask of happiness. For a few seconds she stands still, listening, absorbing the rhythm, surviving her sisters with her defiant grimace. Now she spreads her fingers, which are covered with flour, pushes her hair back from her face, pulls her hands down her cheeks, and patterns her face with an instant mask. At the same time, she opens her mouth and emits a wild, raucous, yeah, and immediately begins to dance, arms, legs, hair, long bootlaces flying, and she dances, she lifts, sings, shouts, and calls. Come on and join me. Come on, come on. For about 10 seconds, she dances along, a white-faced, frantic dervish. Her sisters watch her. Then Rose's face lights up. Suddenly, she flings away her knitting, leaps to her feet, shouts, grabs Maggie's hand. They dance and sing, shout together. Rose's Willingtons pounding out their own erratic rhythm. Now, after another 5 seconds, Agnes looks around, leaps up, joins Maggie and Rose. Of all the sisters, she moves most gracefully and most sensuously. Then after the same interval, Chris, who has been folding Jack's surplice, tosses it quickly over her head and joins the dance. The moment she tosses the vestment over her head, Kate cries out in remonstration. But her
Christina!
But her protest is drowned. Agnes and Rose, Chris and Maggie, are now all doing a dance that is almost recognizable. They meet, they retreat, they form a circle and wheel around and around, but the movements seem caricatured, and the sound is a bit too loud, and the beat is too fast, and the almost recognizable dance is made grotesque because, for example, instead of holding your hands, they have their arms tightly around one another's neck, on another's waist. Finally, Kate, who has been watching the scene with unease, with alarm, suddenly leaps to her feet, blinks her head back, and emits a loud, yeah.
Yeah!
Kate dances alone, totally concentrated, totally private, a moment that is simultaneously controlled and frantic, a weave of complex steps that take her quickly around the kitchen, past her sisters, out to the garden, round the summer seat, back to the kitchen, a pattern of action that is out of character and at the same time ominous of some deep and true emotion. Throughout the dance, Rose, Agnes, Maggie, and Chris should sing to each other. AKTE, ACT, makes no sound. With this too loud music, this pounding beat, this shouting, calling, singing, this parodic reel, there's a sense of order being consciously subverted, of the women consciously and crudely caricaturing themselves, indeed of mere hysteria being induced. The must stops abruptly in mid-phrase, but because the noise they are making, the sisters do not notice and continue dancing for a few seconds. Then Kate notices and stops, then Agnes, then Chris and Maggie. Now only Rose is dancing in her graceless dance by herself. Then finally she too notices and stops. Silence. For some they stand where they have stopped. There is no sound, but they're gasping for breath and short bursts of static from the radio. They look at each other obliquely, avoid looking at each other, half smile in embarrassment, feel and look slightly ashamed and slightly defiant. Chris moves first. She goes for the radio.
It's away again, the dwarfs sing. Sometimes you're good with it, Aggie.
Feel the top. Is it warm?
Roasting.
Turn it off till it cools down.
What a useless set, that.
No need for corner boy language, Christina.
There must be some reason why it overheats.
Because it's a goddamn bloody useless set, that's why.
Goddamn bloody useless.
Are Wellingtons absolutely necessary on a day like this, Rose?
I've only my Wellingtons and my Sunday shoes, Kate. But it's not Sunday, is it?
Oh dear, we're suddenly very logical, aren't we?
I'll tell you something, girls. This Ginger Rogers has seen better days.
It's those cigarettes are killing you.
Wonderful wild woodbine. Next best thing to a wonderful wild man. Want a drag, kitty?
Go and wash your face, Maggie. And for goodness sake, tie those laces.
Yes, miss. Where's Michael, Chrissy?
Working at those kites, isn't he?
He's not there. He's gone.
Won't go far.
He was there 10 minutes ago.
He'll be all right.
But if he goes down to the old well?
Just leave him alone for once, will you please?
Who's making the tea this evening?
Who makes the tea every evening?
The connection seems to be all right.
Please take that surplice off, Christina.
Maybe a valve has gone if I knew what the valve looked like.
Have you no sense of propriety?
You asked me we should throw it out.
I'd be for that. It's junk, that set.
God damn and bloody useless.
And you'll buy a new one, will you?
It was never any good.
You'll buy it out of your glove money, will you? I thought what you and Rose earned knitting gloves was barely sufficient to clothe the pair of you.
This isn't your classroom, Kate.
Because I certainly don't see any of it being offered for the upkeep of the house.
Please, Kate.
But now it stretches to buying a new wireless? Oh, wonderful.
I make every meal you sit down to every day of the week.
Maybe I should start knitting gloves.
I wash every stitch of clothes you wear. I polish your shoes. I make your bed. We both do, Rose and I. Paint the house. Sweep the chimney. Cut the grass. Save the turf. What you have here, Kate, are 2 unpaid servants.
Oh.
And do you know what your nickname at school is? The Gander. Everybody calls you the Gander.
Come here, till you see. Look who's coming up in the lane.
Who's coming?
I only got a glimpse of him, but I'm almost certain it is.
Who is it?
It's Gerry Evans, Chrissy.
Oh, Christ almighty.
He's at the band in the lane.
Oh, Jesus Christ almighty.
The news throws the sisters into a chaos. Only Chris stands absolutely still, too shocked to move. Agnes picks up her knitting and works with excessive concentration. Rose and Maggie change their footwear. Everybody dashes about in confusion, peering into the tiny mirror, bumping into one another, peeping out the window, combing hair. During all this hectic activity, they talk over each other and weave around the immobile Chris. The lines overlap.
How dare Mr. Evans show his face here?
He wants to see his son, doesn't he?
There's no welcome for that creature here.
Where'd my Sunday shoes?
We'll have to give him his tea.
I don't see why we should.
And there's nothing in the house.
No business at all coming here and upsetting everybody.
Oh, you're right, Kate. I hate him.
Has anybody got spare shoelaces?
Look at the state of that floor.
Maybe he just wants to meet Father Jack.
Father Jack, they have something to say to Mr. Evans. Agnes, put those clothes away.
My woodbine. Where's my woodbine?
He won't stay the night, Kate, will he?
He most certainly won't stay the night in this house.
Have you a piece of cord, Aggie? Anybody got a bit of twine?
Behave quite normally. Be very calm and very dignified. Stop peeping out, Rose.
There's nobody coming at all.
Let me see.
You imagined it, Maggie.
Oh, God.
He's not there at all.
Yes, he is. Maggie's right. There he is.
Show me.
Has he a walking stick
Yes,
and a straw hat?
yes.
It's Mr. Evans, all right.
Yes, there he is.
Oh, sweet God. Look at the state of me. What do I say to him? How close is he?
I couldn't look that man in the face. I just hate him. Hate him!
That's a very unchristian thing to say, Rose. There's no luck in talk like that.
Look at my hands, Kate. I'm shaking.
You are not shaken. You are perfectly calm, and you are looking beautiful. And what are you going to do to this? You'll meet him outside. You'll tell him his son is healthy and happy. And then you'll send him packing. Yourself and Michael are managing quite well without him, as you always have. Of course, ask him in and give the creature his tea and stay the night if he wants to, but in the outhouse loft and alone. Now, I brought a newspaper home with me. Did anybody see where I left it?
Where is he, Maggie?
In the garden.
Agnes, did you see where I left the paper?
It's on the turf box, Kate.
Kate reads the paper or pretends to. Agnes sits beside the radio and knits with total concentration. Maggie stands at the side of the garden window. Gerry Evans enters, his step jaunty, swinging his cane, his straw hat back on his head. He knows he's being watched, although he is very ill at ease. The smile never leaves his face. Chris goes out to the garden where they meet. Gerry has a Welsh accent.
How are you, Chrissy? Great to see you.
Hello, Gerry.
And how have you been in the last 6 months?
13 months.
13, never.
July last year. July the 7th.
Wow, 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 wow. Where does the time go? 13 months. Phew, a dozen times, 24 times I planned to visit and something turned up and I couldn't get away.
Well, you're here now.
Certainly am. And that was a bit of good fortune. Last night in a bar in Sligo, bump into this chappie with a brand new Morse Cowley who lets slip that he's heading for Ballybeg in the morning. Ballybeg! Something familiar about that name. So here I am in the flesh. As a matter of interest, bit of good luck that, wasn't it?
Yes.
You just let it slip and here I am. Oh yes, wonderful luck.
Yes.
Looks terrified, the poor fella.
Terrified my foot.
Come here till you see, Maggie.
Not just now.
I'm sure he could do with a good meal.
I'll give him 3 minutes. Then if she doesn't hunt him, I will.
You look beautiful, Chrissy. Really great. Terrific.
My hair's a wind bush.
Looks lovely to me.
Maggie's going to wash it tonight.
And how's Maggie?
Fine.
And Rose and Kate?
Grand.
And Agnes?
Everybody's well, thanks.
Tell her I was asking for her, Agnes.
I would ask you in, but the place is...
No. Some other time. Thanks all the same. The old schedule's a bit tight today, and the chappie who gave me a lift tells me Father Jack's home.
Just a few weeks ago.
All the way from Africa.
Yes.
Safe and sound.
Yes.
Terrific.
Yes.
Lucky man.
Yes.
Must take up some exercise. Putting on too much weight.
He's not still there, is he?
Yes.
Doing what in God's name?
Talking.
Would someone please tell me what they have to say to each other?
He's Michael's father, Kate.
That's a responsibility never burdened Mr. Evans.
A commercial traveller called into Kate's school last Easter. He had met you somewhere in Dublin. He had some stupid story about you giving dance lessons up there.
He was right.
He was not, Gerry.
Cross the old ticker.
Real lessons.
All last winter.
What sort of dancing?
Strictly ballroom. You're the one should have been giving them. You were always far better than me, don't you remember? And that was fun while it lasted. I enjoyed that.
And people came to you to be taught.
Don't look so surprised. Everybody wants to dance. I had thousands of pupils, millions.
Gerry.
53. I'm a liar. 51. When the good weather came, they all drifted away. Shame, really. Yes, I enjoyed that. But I just started a completely new career as a matter of interest. I've never been busier. Gramophone salesman. Agent for the whole country, if you don't mind. Minerva Gramophones, the wise buy.
Sounds good, Gerry.
Fabulous. All I have to do is get the orders, pass them on to Dublin, and big surprise, Chrissy. One very big enterprise.
And it's going all right for you.
Unbelievable. The wholesaler can't keep up with me. Do you see this country? This country is gramophone crazy. Give you an example. Day before yesterday, just west of Auchinard, spots this small house up on the hill. Something seemed just right about it, you know, off the bike, up the lane, knocks. Out comes this enormous chappie with red hair. What are you laughing at?
Gerry.
I promise you, I show him the brochures. We talk about them for 10 minutes, and just like that, he takes 4. 1 for himself and 3 for the married daughters.
You took 4 gramophones.
Well, 4 brochures. But he'll buy. I promise you he'll buy. Tell you this, Chrissy. People thought gramophones would be a thing of the past when radios came in, but they were wrong. In my experience, don't turn round, but he's watching us from behind the bush.
Michael?
Pretend you don't notice. Just carry on. This is all his stuff.
He's making kites, if you don't mind.
Unbelievable. Got a glimpse of him down the road, foot of the lane, down at the foot of the lane. He's just enormous.
He's at school, you know.
Never. Wow, wow, wow. Since when?
Since Christmas. Kate got him in early.
Fabulous. And he likes it.
He doesn't say much.
He loves it. He adores it. They all love school nowadays. And he'll be brilliant at school. Actually, I intended bringing him something small.
No, his aunts have him.
Just a token, really. As a matter of interest, I was looking at a bicycle in Kilkenny last Monday, but they only had it in blue, and I thought black might be more, manly. They took my name and all. But call next time. I'm down there. Are you busy yourself?
Not the usual. Housework, looking after his lordship.
Oh, wonderful.
Give Agnes and Rose a hand at their knitting. The odd bit of sewing. It's a pity you don't sell sewing machines.
Oh, that's an idea. Do the 2 jobs together. Make an absolute fortune. You have the most unbelievable business mind, Chrissy. Never mind anything like it. Never had anything like it. What are you laughing at?
You should see the way she is looking at him. You think he is the biggest toff in the world.
Tinker, more likely. Loafer. Waster.
She knows all that too.
2? That's all there is.
Come over till you see them, Agnes.
Not just now.
You'll never guess what I met on the road from the town. Talk about good luck. A cow with a horn coming straight out of the middle of his forehead.
You never did.
As God is my judge, walking along by itself, nobody near it.
Gerry.
And just as I was passing it, it stopped. It looked me straight in the eye.
That was no cow you met. It was a unicorn.
Go ahead and mock. A unicorn has the body of a horse. This was a cow. A perfectly ordinary brown cow, except that it had a single horn just here. Would I tell you a lie? Go ahead, laugh. That's what I saw. Wasn't that a spot of good luck?
Was it?
A cow with a single horn. Oh, yes, that must be a good omen. How many cows like that have you ever met?
Thousands? Millions?
Stop that. I'm sure there's only one in Ireland, maybe the only one in the world, and I met it on the road to Ballybeg, and it winked at me.
You never mentioned that.
What?
That it winked at you.
Unbelievable. That's what made it so mysterious. Oh, yes, that must be a fabulous one. Maybe this week I'm going to sell a gramophone or 2 after all.
But I thought you...
Look, a single magpie. That's definitely a bad omen. 1 for sorrow. Bang. Missed. Where is my lucky cow? Come back, brown cow, come back!
They're not still talking, are they?
Laughing. She laughs all the time with them. Do you hear them, Aggie?
Yes,
Laughing. Absolutely beyond my comprehension.
like so many things, Kate.
2 more minutes and Mr. Evan is going to talk to me. Laughing.
Thinking of going away for a while, Chrissy.
Where to?
But I'll come back to say goodbye first.
You're going home to Wales.
Wales isn't my home anymore. My home is here. Well, Ireland. To Spain, as a matter of interest. Just for a short while.
To sell gramophones.
Oh, good God, no. You'll never believe this. To do a spot of fighting. With the International Brigade. The company leaves in a few weeks. Bit ridiculous, isn't it? But you know, old Gerry, when the blood's up, bang, bang, bang. Missing everybody.
Are you serious?
It surprised myself as a matter of interest.
What do you know about Spain?
Not a lot. A little. Enough, maybe. Yes, I know enough, and I thought I should try my hand at something worthy for a change. Give Evans a big cause, and he won't let you down. It's only everyday stuff he's not so successful at. Anyhow, I'm still to enlist. He's still watching us. He's still watching us. He thinks we don't see him. I wouldn't mind talking to him.
He's a bit shy.
Naturally. And I'm a stranger to him, practically. Does he know my name?
Of course he knows your name.
Good. Thanks. Well, maybe not so good. He's a very handsome child. With your eyes. Lucky boy.
Good for you, Aggie. What did you do to it?
I didn't touch it.
Turn that thing off, Aggie, would you?
You have a gramophone. I could have got one for you wholesale.
It's a wireless set.
Oh, very posh.
It doesn't go half the time. Aggie says it's a heap of junk.
I know nothing about radios, but I'll take a look at it if you would like.
Some other time. When you come back.
And Agnes as well?
Fine.
Of
Fine.
all the sisters, Agnes was the one who seemed to object to me least to me. Tell her I was asking for her.
I'll tell her.
Good tune.
Suddenly he takes her in his arms and dances.
Gerry,
Don't talk.
what are you at?
Not a word.
Oh, God, Gerry.
Shh.
They're watching us.
Who is?
Maggie and Aggie from the kitchen window.
Hope so. And Kate?
And Father Jack?
Better still. Terrific.
He suddenly swings her around and around and dances her lightly, elegantly across the garden. As he does, he sings the song to her.
Dancing.
What?
They're dancing together.
God forgive you.
He has her in his arms.
He has not, the animal.
They're dancing round the garden.
Oh,
Aggie?
God. What sort of fool is she?
He's a beautiful dancer, isn't he?
He's leading her astray again.
Look at her face. She is easily led. Come here till you see, Aggie.
I'm busy. For God's sake, can't you see I'm busy?
That's the one thing that Evans creature could ever do well was dance. And look at her, the fool. For God's sake, would you look at that fool of a woman? Her whole face alters when she's happy, doesn't it? They dance so well together. They're such a beautiful couple. She's as beautiful as Bernie O'Donnell any day, isn't she?
Do you know the words?
I never know any words.
Neither do I. Doesn't matter. This is the most important. Oh, marry me, Chrissy. Are you listening to me?
I hear you.
Will you marry me when I come back in 2 weeks?
I don't think so, Gerry.
I'm mad about you. You know I am. I've always been mad about you.
When you're with me.
Leave this house and come away with...
But you walk out on me again. You wouldn't intend to, but that's what would happen because that's your nature. You can't help yourself.
Not this time, Chrissy. This time it will be...
Don't talk anymore. No more words. Just dance me down the lane and then you'll leave.
Believe me, Chrissy. This time the omens are terrific. The omens are unbelievable this time.
They dance off. After they have exited, the music continues for a few seconds and it stops suddenly mid-phrase. Maggie goes to the set, slaps it, turns it off. Kate moves away from the window.
They're away, dancing.
Whatever is wrong with it, that it all seems to last a few minutes at a time. Something to do with the way it heats up.
We probably won't see Mr. Evans for another year until the humor suddenly takes him again.
He has a Christian name.
And in the meantime, it's Christina's heart and gets crushed again. That's what I mind. But what really infuriates me is that the creature has no sense of ordinary duty. Does he ever wonder how she clothes and feeds Michael? Does he ask her? Does he care?
Going out to get my head cleared. Bit of a headache all day.
Seems to me the beasts of the field have more concern for their young than that creature has.
Do you ever listen to yourself, Kate? You are such a damned righteous bitch. And his name is Gerry. Gerry! Gerry!
And what was that all about?
What's to say?
Don't I know his name is Gerry? What am I calling him, St. Patrick?
She's worried about Chris too.
You see? That's what a creature like Mr. Evans does. Appear out of nowhere and suddenly poisons the atmosphere in the whole house. God forgive him, the bastard. There. That's what I mean. God forgive me.
Maggie begins putting on her long-laced boots again. As she does, she listens listlessly, almost inaudibly.
It's on the isle of Capri that I find, beneath the shade of an old walnut tree. Oh, I can still see the flowers blooming around her, where they met on the Isle of Capri.
If you knew your prayers as well as you know the words of those old pagan songs. She's right. I am a righteous bitch, haven't I?
She was as sweet as a rose at a dawning, but somehow fate hadn't meant her to me. And though he sailed with the tide in the morning, still his heart's in the Isle of Capri. Now, who's for a foxtrot?
You work hard at your job. You try to keep the home together. You perform your duties as best you can because you believe in responsibilities and obligations and good order. And then suddenly you realize that hair cracks are appearing everywhere. The control is slipping away. But the whole thing is so fragile that it can't be held together much longer. It's all about to collapse, Maggie.
Nothing is about to collapse, Kate.
That young Sweeney boy from the back hills, the boy who was anointed, his trousers didn't catch fire, as Rose said. They were doing some devilish thing with a goat, some sort of sacrifice for the Lugnasa festival, and Sweeney was so drunk he toppled over into the middle of the bonfire. Don't you know why that came into my head?
Kate.
And Mr. Evans is off again for another 12 months, and next week or the week after, Christina will collapse into one of her depressions. Remember last winter? All that sobbing and lamenting in the middle of the night? I don't think I could go through that again. And the doctor said he doesn't think Father Jack's mind is confused, but that his superiors probably had no choice but to send him home. Whatever he means by that, Maggie. And the parish priest did talk to me today. He said the numbers in the school are fallen and that there may not be a job for me after the summer. But the numbers aren't fallen, Maggie. Why is he telling me lies? Why does he want to get rid of me? And why has he never come out to visit Father Jack? If he gives me the push, all 5 of us will be home together all day long. We can spend the day dancing to Marconi.
Now she cries. Maggie puts her arm around her. Michael enters.
What worries me most of all is Rose. If I died, if I lost my job, if this house were broken up, what would become of our Rose? I must put my trust in God, Maggie, mustn't I? He'll look after her, won't he? You believe that, Maggie, don't you?
Kate, love.
I believe that too. I believe that. I do believe that.
Maggie holds her and rocks her. Chris enters quickly, hugging herself. She sees the boy at his kites, goes to him, gets down beside him. She speaks eagerly, excitedly, confidently.
Well, now you've had a good look at him. What do you think of him? Do you remember him?
I never saw him before.
Shh, yes, you did. 5 or 6 times. You've forgotten. And he saw you at the foot of the lane. He thinks you've got very big. And he thinks you're handsome.
Aunt Kate got me a spinning top that won't spin.
He's handsome. Isn't he handsome?
Give up.
I'll tell you a secret. The others aren't to know. He's got a great new job. And he's wonderful at it.
What does he do?
Shh. And he's bought a bicycle for you. A black bike. A man's bike. And he's going to bring it with him the next time he comes.
Oh, is he coming back soon?
Maybe. Maybe. Yes. Yes, he is.
How soon?
Next week, the week after. Soon, soon, soon. Oh, yes. You have a handsome father. You are a lucky boy, and I'm a very, very lucky woman. And another bit of good news for you, lucky boy. You have your mother's eyes. And what's the good news here?
Good news here is that's the most exciting turf we've ever burned.
Jerry's not gone, is he?
Just this minute. He says, thank you very much for the offer of the bed.
Next time he's back.
That'll be in a week or 2, depending on his commitments.
Well, if the outside loft happens to be empty.
And he sends his love to you all. His special love to you, Aggie, and a big kiss.
For me?
Yes, for you.
Those are beautiful, Aggie. Would Jack like some in his room? Put them on his windowsill with a "we" card. Roses, so that poor man's head won't be demented looking for the word. And now, girls, the daily dilemma. What's for tea?
Let me make the tea, Maggie.
We'll both make the tea. Perhaps something thrilling with tomatoes? We've got 2, I think. Or you're prepared to wait? I'll get that soda bread made.
I'm making the tea, Maggie.
Let me, please. Just today.
I make the tea every evening, don't I? Why shouldn't I make it this evening as usual?
No reason at all. Aggie's the chef. Everybody's doing it, picking their nose and chewing it.
Maggie, please.
If she knew her prayers half as well as she knows the words of those old pagan songs. Marconi, my friend, you're not still asleep, are you?
Father Jack enters, shuffling quickly across the kitchen floor, hands behind his back, eyes on the ground as if he were intent on some engagement elsewhere. Now he becomes aware of the others.
If anybody's looking for me, I'll be down at the bank of the river for the rest of the... I beg your pardon. My mind was... it's Kate.
It's Kate.
And Agnes. And Margaret.
How are you, Jack?
And this is...
Christina.
Forgive me, Chris. You were only a baby when I went away. I remember Mother lifting you up as the train was pulling out of the station and catching your hand and waving it at me. You were so young, you had scarcely any hair, but she'd managed to attach a tiny pink, what's the word? A bow! A bow! Just about here. And as she waved your hand, the bow fell off. It's like a picture, a camera picture, a photograph It's like a photograph in me mind.
The hair isn't much better even now, Jack.
I remember you crying, Margaret.
Was I?
Yes? Your face was all blotchy with tears.
You may be sure, beautiful as ever.
You and Kate were on mother's right, and Rose was between you. You each had a hand, and mother's face. I remember it showed nothing. I often wondered about that afterwards.
You knew she would never see you again in her lifetime.
I know that, but in the other life, do you think perhaps mother didn't believe in the ancestral spirits?
Ancestral? What are you blathering about, Jack? Mother was a saintly woman who knew she was going straight to heaven. And don't you forget to take your medicine again this evening. You're supposed to take it 3 times a day.
Yeah, one of our priests took so much quinine that he became an addict and almost died. A German priest, Father Schapegi. He was rushed to hospital in Kampala, but they could do nothing for him. So Okawa and I brought him to our local medicine man, and Carl Schapegi lived until he was 88. That was a strange white bird on my windowsill when I woke this morning.
That's Rosie's pet rooster. Keep away from the thing.
Look what it did to my arm, Jack. One of these days, I'm gonna wring his neck.
That's what we do in Rianga when we want to please the spirits or to appease them. We kill a rooster or a young goat. It's a very exciting exhibition. That's not the word, is it? Demonstration? No, show. No. That's not the word I'm looking for. Spectacle? No, that's not it. The word to describe is sacred and mysterious. You have ritual killing, you offer up sacrifice, you have dancing, and incantations. Oh, what is the name for that? Oh, God, lost it. My vocabulary's deserted me. Never mind, doesn't matter. I think I should put one more close.
You speak Swahili all the time out there, Jack?
All the time, yes, to the people. Swahili. When Europeans call, we speak English. Or if we have a visitor, a visitation from the district commissioner. The president commissioner knows Swahili, but he won't speak it. He's a stubborn man. He and I fight a lot, but I like him. The Irish outcast, he calls me. He's always inviting me to spend a weekend with him in Kampala to keep me from going native, as he calls it. Perhaps, when I go back, if you cooperate with the English, they give you lots of money for churches and schools and hospitals. And he gets so angry with me because I won't take his money. Reported to my superiors in Head House last year, and they were very cross. Oh, very cross. But I like him. When I was saying goodbye to him, he thought that was very funny. He gave me a present for the last governor's ceremonial hat to take home with me. Ceremony! Ah, that's the word! How could I have forgotten that? The offering, ritual, dancing, a ceremony. Such a simple word. What was I telling you?
The district commissioner gave you this present.
Yes. Oh, what a wonderful triangular hat with 3 enormous white ostrich plumes rising up out of the ground. I have it in one of my trunks. I'll show it to you later. Ceremony. I'm so glad I got that. Do you know what I found very strange? Coming back in the boat, there were days when I couldn't remember even the simplest words. Not that anybody seemed to notice. And you can always point. Margaret, can't you?
Or make signs.
Or make signs.
Or dance.
What you must do is read a lot. Books, papers, magazines, anything. I read every night with young Michael. It's great for his vocabulary.
I'm sure you're right, Kate. I'll do that. I haven't seen young Michael today, Agnes.
Christina, Jack.
Sorry.
Around there somewhere. Making kites if you don't mind.
And I have still to meet your husband.
I'm not married.
Ah.
Michael's father was here a while ago. Gerry Evans. Mr. Evans is a Welshman. Not that that's relevant to...
We're never married.
Never?
We're all in the same boat, Jack. We are hoping that you'll hunt about it and get man for all of us.
So, Michael is a love child.
Yes, I suppose so.
He's a fine boy.
Not a bad boy.
And you're lucky to have him.
We're all lucky to have him.
In the younger women were eager to have love children. The more love children you have, the more fortunate you have for your household is thought to be. Have you other love children?
She certainly has not, Jack. And strange as it may seem to you, neither has Agnes, nor Rose, nor Maggie, nor myself. No harm to Raganda, but you're home in Donegal now, and much as we cherish love children here, they're not exactly the norm. And the doctor says, if you don't take exercise, your legs will seize up on you. So I'm going to walk you down to the main road and up again 3 times, and then you'll get your tea, and then you'll read the paper from front to back, and then you'll take your medicine, and then you'll go to bed. And we'll do the same thing tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, until we have you back to where you were. You start off, and I'll be with you in a second. Where's my cardigan?
Jack goes to get the cardigan, out to the garden. Kate goes to get her cardigan.
Some of Aunt Kate's forebodings weren't all that inaccurate. Indeed, some of them were fulfilled before the festival of Lugnasa was over. She was right about Uncle Jack. He had been sent home by his superiors, not because his mind was confused, but for reasons that became clearer as the summer drew to a close. And she was right about losing her job in the local school. The parish priest didn't take her back when the new term began, although that had more to do with Father Jack than with fallen numbers. And she had good reason for being uneasy about Rose, and had she known about Agnes too. But what she couldn't have foreseen was that the home would break up quite so quickly, and that when she would wake up one morning in early September, both Rose and Agnes would have left forever.
At this point, Michael's speech, Jack picks up 2 pieces of wood, portions of the ice, and strikes them together. The sound they make pleases him. He does it again and again and again. And he begins to beat out a structured beat whose rhythm gives him pleasure. And as Michael continues his speech, Jack begins to shuffle dance in time to his tattoo. His body slightly bent over, eyes on the ground, feet moving rhythmically. As he dances, shuffles, he mutters, sings, makes occasional sounds that are incomprehensible and almost inaudible. Kate comes out to the garden and stands still watching him. Rose enters. Now Rose and Maggie and Agnes are all watching him. Some at the front door, some through the window. Only Chris has her eyes closed, her face raised, her mouth slightly open, remembering. Michael continues without stopping.
But she was wrong about my father. I suppose their natures were so out of tune that she could always be wrong about my father. Because he did come back in a couple of weeks as he said he would. And although my mother and he didn't go through a conventional form of marriage, once more they danced together, witnessed by the unseen sisters. And this time it was a dance without music, just there, in ritual circles, round and round that square, and then down the lane and back up again, slowly, formally, with easy deliberation. My mother with her head thrown back, her eyes closed, her mouth slightly open. My father holding her just that little distance away from him so that he could regard her upturned face. No singing, no melody, no words. Only the swish and whisper of their feet across the grass. I watched the ceremony from behind that bush. But this time they were conscious only of themselves and of their dancing. And when he went off to fight with the International Brigade, my mother grieved as any bride would grieve. But this time there was no sobbing, no lamenting, no collapse into a depression.
Kate now goes to Jack and gently takes the sticks from him. She places them on the ground.
We'll leave those back where we found them, Jack. They aren't ours. They belong to the child. Now we'll go for a walk.
Act 2. Early September. 3 weeks later. Ink bottle and some paper on the kitchen table. 2 finished kites, their artwork still unseen, lean against the garden seat. Michael stands downstage, listening to Maggie as she approaches the singing. Now she enters, carrying 2 zinc buckets of water. She is dressed as she was in Act 1. She sings in her usual parodic style.
Oh, play to me, gypsy, the mountains high above. Oh, play me your serenade, the song I love. Are you getting your books ready for school again?
Oh, school doesn't start for another 10 days.
God, I always hated school. You and I have a little financial matter to discuss. Jeremy, Cup,
I'm not listening.
you owe me money.
I do not.
Oh, yes, you do. 3 weeks ago, I bet you a penny those old kites would never get off the ground. And they never did.
Because there was never enough wind, that's why.
Enough wind. Would you listen to him? A hurricane wouldn't shift those things. Anyhow, a debt is a debt. 1 penny, please, at your convenience. Or the equivalent in kind. One wild woodbine. Beside your caravan, the campfire is bright.
She dances her exaggerated dance across the table and tousles the boy's hair.
Oh, leave me alone, Aunt Maggie.
I'll be just for tonight.
Oh, look what you made me do. The page is all blotted.
Your frank opinion, Cup. Am I a vagabond material?
Oh, get out of my road, will you? I'm trying to write a letter.
Who to? That's for you to know and you to find out. Whoever it is, you need to be smart to read that scroll.
Santa Claus.
In September? Nothing like getting in before the rush. What are you asking for?
A bell.
A bell.
For my bicycle.
For your bicycle.
The bike my daddy has bought me, stupid.
Your daddy has bought you a bicycle.
He told me today he bought it in Kilkenny. So there.
Your daddy told you that?
Well, ask him yourself. It's coming next week. It's a black bike, a man's bike.
Aren't you the lucky boy?
It's going to be delivered here to the house. He promised me.
Well, if he promised you. Now, who can we get to teach you to ride?
I know how to ride.
You don't.
I learned at school last Easter. So there. But you can't ride.
I can so.
I know you can't.
Maybe not by myself, but put me on the bar and magnificent.
Ah, you never sat on the bar of a bike in your life, Aunt Maggie.
Oh, yes, I did, Michael. Oh, yes, indeed I did. Now, away and ride to Santa some other time. On a day like this, you should be out running about the fields like a young calf. Hold on. A new riddle for you.
Give up.
A man goes to an apple tree with 2 apples on it. He doesn't take apples off it. He doesn't leave apples on it. How does he do that?
Give up.
Think, will you?
Give up.
Well, since you don't know, I will tell you. He takes 1 apple off. Get it? He doesn't take apples off. He doesn't leave apples on.
Oh, God.
He might as well be talking to a turf stack.
Jack enters. He looks much stronger and is very sprightly and alert. He's not wearing a top coat or the hat, but instead a garish colored, probably a sister's sweater. His dress looks now even more bizarre.
I hear the church bell ringing.
A big push wedding today.
That's one of my sisters.
No such luck. A man called Austin Morgan and a girl from Carrickfat.
Austin Morgan. Should I know that name?
I don't think so. They own the arcade in the town. And how are you today?
Old as usual, Maggie. And complaining about it as usual.
Complain away. Why wouldn't you? And it is getting colder. But you're looking stronger every day, Jack.
I feel stronger too now. Off for my last walk of the day.
Number 3?
Number 4. Down past the clothesline, across the stream, round the old well, and up through the meadow. And when that's done, Kate won't have to nag at me. Nag? Nag? Sounds funny. There's something wrong with that. Nag. That's not a word, is it?
Nag. Yes, to keep on at somebody.
Yes? Nag. Good. So my English vocabulary is coming back too. Great. Nag. Still sounds a bit strange.
Time for another walk, Jack?
I'm just about to set out on number 4, Kate. And thank you for keeping at me.
No sign of Rose and Agnes yet?
They said they'd be back for tea. They're away picking blueberries.
You used to pick bilberries, do you remember?
Down by the old quarry.
The very place.
Mother and myself, every Lugnasa. The annual ritual, of course I remember. And then she'd make the most wonderful jam. And that's what you took to school with you every day through the winter. A piece of soda bread and bilberry jam.
But no butter.
Except on special occasions when you got scones, or some reason they were always buttered. I must walk down to that old quarry one of these days. Oh, ruddier than the cherry, and sweeter than the berry, a nymph more bright than moonshine night, little kiddings blithe and merry. Where on earth did that come from? You see, Kate, it's all coming back to me.
So, you'll soon begin saying Mass again?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Here in the house?
Why not? Perhaps I'll start next Monday. The neighbors would join us, wouldn't they?
Oh, they surely would. A lot of them have been asking me already.
How will we let them know?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about that. Words get about very quickly.
What Akawa does, you know Akawa, don't you?
Your houseboy?
My friend, my mentor, my counselor, and yes, my houseboy as well. Anyhow, Okawa summons our people by striking a huge iron gong. Did you hear that wedding bell this morning, Kate?
Yes.
Well, Okawa's gong will carry 4 times as far as that. But it's one of the bigger ceremonies. You'll spend a whole day going round and round all the neighboring villages, blowing on this enormous flute he made himself.
And they all meet in your church?
Well, I had a church. Now we gather in the common in the middle of the village. If it's an important ceremony, you would have to up to 300 or 400 people.
All gathered together for Mass.
Maybe, or maybe to offer sacrifice to Obi, our great goddess of the earth, so that the crops will flourish. Or maybe get in touch with our departed fathers for their advice and wisdom. Or maybe to thank the spirits of our tribe if they've been good to us, or to appease them if they're angry. I complain to a power that our calendar of ceremonies gets fuller every year. Now, at this time of year over there, as the Ugandan harvest time, we have two very wonderful ceremonies. The Festival of the New Yam and Festival of the Sweet Kasfa, and they're both dedicated to our great goddess, Obi.
Kate?
Sorry?
Yeah.
They're both dedicated to our great goddess, Obi.
But these aren't Christian ceremonies, Jack, are they?
Sorry. But these
Page
aren't
50.
Christian.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where I am. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. The Ryangans have always been faithful to their own beliefs, like these two festivals I'm telling you about. And they are very special, really magnificent ceremonies. I haven't described these two festivals to you before, have I?
No, not to me.
Well, they begin very formally, very solemnly, with a ritual sacrifice of a fowl or a goat or a calf down at the bank of the river. Then the ceremonial cutting and anointing of the first yams and the first cassava, and we pass these around in huge wooden bowls. Then the incantation, a chant really, that expresses our gratitude and also acts as a rhythm or percussion for the ritual dance. And then, when the Thanksgiving is over, the dance continues. And the interesting thing is that it grows naturally into a secular celebration, so that almost imperceptibly, the religious ceremony ends and the community celebration takes over. And that part of the ceremony is a real spectacle. We light fires around the periphery of the circle, and we paint our faces with colored powders, and we sing local songs, and we drink palm wine, and then we dance, and dance, and dance. Children, men, women, most of them lepers, many of them with misshapen limbs or missing limbs, dancing, believe it or not, for days on end. It is the most wonderful fight sight you have ever seen. Oh, the palm wine, they dole it out in horns. You lose all sense of time. Oh yes, the Ryangans are a remarkable people. There is no distinction between the religious and the secular in their culture. And of course, their capacity for fun, for laughing, for practical jokes. They have such open hearts. To some respects, they're not unlike us. You'd love them, Maggie. You should come back with me. Oh, how did I get into all that? You must stop me telling these long stories. Exercise time. I'll be back in 10 minutes. And only last week, it took me half an hour to do number 4. You've done a great job with me, Kate. So please, do keep nagging at me. It's not Gibbons and Sullivan, is it?
Sorry?
That quotation.
What's that, Jack?
Oh, ruddier than the cherry, oh, sweeter than the berry. No, it's not Gilbert and Sullivan. But it'll come back to me, I promise you. It's all coming back.
Jack?
Yes.
You are going to start in Mass again.
We've agreed on next Monday, haven't we? Haven't we, Maggie?
Yes.
At first light, the moment Rose's white cock crows, a harvest ceremony. You'll have to find a big gong somewhere, Kate.
I told you. You wouldn't believe me. I told you. What do you think?
He's not back a month yet.
Yesterday I heard about their medicine man who brought a woman back from death.
He needs more time.
And this morning it was the spirits of the tribe. And when I mentioned Mass to him, you saw how he dodged about.
He said he'd say Mass next Monday, Kate.
No, he won't. You know he won't. He's changed, Maggie.
In another month, he'll be...
Completely changed. He's not our Jack at all. And it's what he's changed into that frightens me.
Doesn't frighten me.
If you saw your face. Of course it does. Oh, dear God.
Maggie now drifts back into the range. Kate goes to the table and with excessive vigor wipes with a damp cloth. Then she stops suddenly, slumps into a seat, covers her face with her hands. Maggie watches, then goes to her. She stands behind her, holds her shoulders with her hands. Kate grasps Maggie's hands in hers.
All the same, Kitty. I don't think it's a sight I'd like to see.
What side?
A litter of lepers trying to do military two-step.
God forgive you, Maggie, Mundy. The poor creatures are as entitled to... This must be kept in the family, Maggie. Not a word of this must go outside these walls. Do you hear? Not a syllable.
Chris and Gerry enter. He enters backwards, pulling Chris, who holds the end of his walking stick. Throughout the scene, he keeps trying to embrace her. She keeps avoiding him.
No false modesty. You know you're a great dancer, Chrissy.
No, I'm not.
You should be a professional dancer.
Talking rubbish.
Let's dance around the garden again.
We've done that, and down the lane again, without music. And that's enough for one day. Tell me about signing up. Was it really in a church?
I'm telling you, it was unbelievable.
It was a real church?
Catholic Church is a matter of interest.
I don't believe a word of it.
Would I tell you a lie? And up at the end, in the sanctuary, there were 3 men, 2 of them with trench coats, and between them, between this lectern and wearing a sort of military cap, this little chappie who spoke in an accent I could hardly understand. Naturally, I thought he was Spanish, but Armand is, as it turned out.
I'm sure I couldn't understand you either.
He described himself as the recruiting officer. Take it from me, comrade, no one joins the brigade without my unanimity.
It's a wonder he accepted you.
You offer your allegiance and your loyalty to our full endeavors to the popular front.
What's the Popular Front?
The Spanish government that I am going to keep in power. I take it you are a syndicalist. No? An anarchist? No. A Marxist? No. A Republican? A socialist? A communist? No. Do you speak Spanish? No. Can you make explosives? No. Can you ride a motorbike? Yes. You're in. Sign here.
So you'll be a dispatch rider. And you leave on Saturday.
First tide.
How long will we be away?
As long as it takes to sort the place out.
Seriously, Gerry.
Maybe a couple of months. Everybody says it will be over by Christmas.
They always say it'll be over by Christmas. I still don't know why you're going.
Not so sure I know either. Who wants salesmen that can't sell? And there's bound to be something right about the cause, isn't there? It's somewhere to go, isn't it? Maybe that's the important thing for a man, a named destination. Democracy, Ballybeg, heaven. Women's illusions aren't so easily satisfied. They make better drifters. Anyhow, he held out a pen to sign on the dotted line, and it was only when I was writing my name that I glanced over the lectern and saw the box.
What box?
He was standing on a box. The chappie was a midget.
Gerry!
No bigger than 3 feet.
Oh, Gerry, I
promise you, when we were having a drink afterwards, he told me he was invaluable to the brigade because he was a master at disguising himself.
Gerry Evans, you are.
Down to the old well.
We're going nowhere. Come inside and take a look at the wireless. It stops and starts whenever it feels like it.
I told you, I know nothing about radios.
I've said you're a genius at them.
Oh, Chrissy, I don't even know how to...
You can try, can't you? Come on. Michael misses it badly. You should see Jack striding to the meadow. He looks like a new man.
Were you talking to him?
He wants to do a swap with me. I'm to give him his hat, and he's to give me some sort of three-cornered hat with feathers that the district commissioner gave him. Sounds a fair exchange.
Teresa says you're great with radios, Gerry.
I'll take a look at it. Why not?
All I can tell you is that it's not the battery. I got a new one yesterday.
Let me check the aerial first. Very often, that's where the trouble lies. Then I'll have a look at the ignition and the spark plugs. Leave it to Gerry.
He sounds very knowledgeable.
It may be something he can fix, or he can't fix.
I know you're not responsible for Gerry's decisions, Christina, but it would be on my conscience if I didn't tell you how strongly I disapprove of this international brigade caper. It's a sorry day for Ireland when we send young men off to Spain to fight for godless communism.
For democracy, Kate.
I'm not going to argue. I just want to clear my conscience.
That's the important thing, of course. And now you've cleared it.
Turn the radio on, Chrissy, would you?
It's on.
Right.
Just as we were coming out of the town, we met Vera McLaughlin, the knitting agent. Agnes and Rose aren't back yet?
They'll be here soon.
She said she'll call in tomorrow and tell them herself. The poor woman was very distressed.
Tell them what?
She's not buying any more handmade gloves.
Why not?
Too dear, she says.
Too dear. She pays them a pittance.
There's a new factory starting up in Donegaltown. They make machine gloves more quickly there and far more cheaply. The people Vera used to supply buy their gloves direct from the factory now. She says they're organizing buses to bring the workers to the factory and back every day. Most of the people who used to work at home have signed on. She tried to get a job there herself. They told her she was too old. She's 41.
Oh God, poor Agnes. Poor Rose. What'll they do?
Shh, 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 shh. They're back. Let them have their tea in peace. Tell them later.
They busy themselves with their tasks. Agnes is carrying 2 small pails of bilberries, which she leaves outside the door of her house. Just as she's about to enter the kitchen, a voice off calls her.
Who is that beautiful woman?
Gerry?
Up here, Aggie.
Where?
On the top of the sycamore.
Mother of God.
Come up and join me.
What are you doing up there?
You can see into the future from here, Aggie.
The tray isn't safe, Gerry. Please come down.
Come up and see what's going to happen to you.
That branch is dead, Gerry. I'm telling you.
You think I can get a job in the circus? Wow, 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 wow.
Gerry.
He flies through the air with the greatest of ease. Whee!
Stop it, Gerry. Stop it.
A daring young man on the flying trapeze.
You're gonna fall. I'm not looking. I'm not watching. Oh, that clown of a man is up on top of the sycamore. Go out and tell him to come down, Chrissy.
Aggie.
He's fixing the aerial.
He's gonna break his neck. I'm telling you.
As long as he fixes the wireless first.
How are the bilberries, Agnes?
Just that bit too ripe. We should have picked them a week ago.
That's a purple stain on your gansy.
I know. I'd only begun when I'd fed into a bush. And look at my hands all scrabbled with briars. For all the sympathy I got from Rosie. Nearly died laughing at me. How is she now? Is she still in bed?
Bed?
She wasn't feeling well. She left me and went home to lie down. She's here, isn't she?
I haven't seen her. Have you?
No.
When did you leave? When did she leave you?
No, almost immediately after we got to the old quarry. She said she felt out of sorts.
And she went off by herself.
Yes?
to come home.
That's what she said.
She's not in her bed.
Oh, God. Where could she?
Start at the beginning, Agnes. What exactly happened?
Nothing happened. Nothing at all. We left here together. When was it? Just after 1 o'clock.
You mean she's been missing for over 3 hours?
We walked together to the quarry. She was chatting away as usual. I had my 2 buckets and she said,
Go on.
just after we got there, she said she wasn't feeling well. I told her not to bother about the bilberries, just let them sit in the sun. And that's what she did.
For how long?
I don't know, 5, 10 minutes. And then I fell into the bush. And that was when she laughed. And then she said, I've forgotten what she said. Something about a headache and her stomach being sick. So she'd go home and sleep for a while. You sure she's not in her bed?
Then what?
Where is she? What's happened to our Rosie?
What direction did she go when she left you?
Direction?
Yes, stop sniveling, Agnes. Did she go towards home?
I think so, yes. I don't know, Maggie.
She may have gone into town.
Wouldn't have gone into town in her Wellingtons.
She was wearing her good shoes.
Are you sure?
Yes. And her blue cardigan and her good skirts. I said to her, you're some lady to go picking bilberries with. And she just laughed and said, I'm some tough, Eggie. Aren't I some tough?
Has she a bottle of milk with her?
I think so, yes, in one of her cans.
Had she any money with her?
She had half a crown, that's all she has.
Danny Bradley.
What? Who?
Danny Bradley. Luana, up in the back hills.
Oh, God, no.
What? What's this? What about the back hills?
She has some silly notion about that scam Bradley. She believes he's in love with her. He gave her a present last Christmas, she says.
What do you know about this Bradley business?
I know no more than Chris has said.
I've often seen you and Rose whispering together. What plot has she been hatched between Rose and Mr. Bradley?
No plot, please, Kate.
You're lying to me, Agnes. You're withholding. I want the truth.
Honest to God, all I know is what Chris has just said.
I want to know everything you know. Now, I want to.
That'll do, Kate. Stop that at once. She may be in town. She may be on her way home now. She may have taken a weak turn on her way back from the quarry. We're gonna find her. You search the fields on the upper side of the lane. You take the lower side down as far as the main road. Kate, you go to the old well and search all around there. I'm going into the town to tell the police.
You're going to know, please, Maggie. If she's mixed up with that Bradley creature, I'm not going to have it broadcast all over.
I'm going to police, and you'll do what I told you to do.
There she is! Look, there she is!
She has seen Rose through the window and is about to rush out to greet her. Maggie catches her arm and restrains her. The 4 sisters watch Rose as she crosses the garden. Chris and Kate from the window, Maggie and Agnes from the door. Rose is unaware of the anxious scrutiny. She is dressed in her good clothes, described by Agnes, and they have changed her appearance. Indeed, we had not seen the Rose of Act 1. We might not now be immediately aware of her disability. At first look, this might be any youngish countrywoman, carefully dressed, not unattractive, returning from a long walk on a summer day. She walks slowly, lethargically towards the house. From her right hand hangs a red poppy that she plucked casually along the road. Her face reveals nothing, but nothing is being deliberately concealed. She sees Agnes's cans of fruit. She stops beside them and looks at them. Then she puts her hand into one of the cans, takes a fistful of berries, and thrusts the fistful into her mouth. Then she wipes her mouth with her sleeve and back of her hand. As she chews, she looks at her stained fingers. She wipes them on her skirt. All of this movement, stopping, eating, wiping, are done not dreamily, abstractedly, but calmly and naturally. Now she moves toward the house. As she approaches the door, Agnes rushes to meet her. Instead of hugging her, as she wants to, she catches her arm.
Rosie, love, we were beginning to get worried about you.
They're nice, Aggie. They're sweet. And you got 2 canfuls. Good for you.
Is your stomach settled?
My stomach?
We weren't feeling well, remember? When we were at the quarry.
Oh, yes. I'm fine now, thanks.
You left me there and you said you were coming home to lie down. Do you remember that?
Yes,
But you didn't come home, Rosie.
that's right.
And we were very worried about you.
Well, here I am.
Were you in the town?
That's why you're all dressed up, isn't it?
You went to Ballybeg, didn't you?
She's home safe and sound, and that's all that matters. Now, I don't know about you girls, but I can tell you this chicken is weak with hunger. Let me tell you what's on the menu this evening. Our beverage is the usual hot sweet tea. There is a choice between caraway seed bread and soda bread, but both fresh from the chef's oven. But now we come to the difficulty. There is only 3 eggs between the 7 of us. I wish to God you'd persuade that white rooster of yours to lay eggs, Rosie.
There are 8 of us, Maggie.
How are they? Ah, of course, the soldier at Sycamore. Not a great larder, but a nice challenge to someone like myself. Right. My suggestion is eggs Ballybeg. In other words, scrambled and served on lighted toasted caraway seed bread, followed by those so inclined by one magnificent wild woodbine. Everybody happy.
Excellent, Margaret.
Settled.
We'll go and pick some doorbell next Sunday, Rosie.
All right.
Remember the cans you had? You had your own 2 cans, remember? Did you take them with you?
Where to, Aggie?
Into the town, wherever you went.
I hid them at the quarry behind a stone wall. They're safe there. I'll go back and pick them up later this evening. Does anyone know where my overall is?
It's lying across your bed. And you need to bring some turf in, Rosie.
I'll change first, Maggie.
Be quick about it.
How many pieces of toast do you want?
All that law. And go easy on the butter. That's all we have. Now, parsley and just a whiff of basil. I don't want to be too optimistic, girls, but you should know I feel very creative this evening.
I want to know where you've been, Rose. You have been gone for the entire afternoon. I want you to tell me where you've been.
Later, Kate, after she...
Where have you been for the past 3 hours?
Loch Anna.
I didn't hear what you said, Rose.
Loch Anna.
Just leave it.
You walked from the quarry to Loch Anna.
Yes.
Did you meet somebody there?
Yes.
Had you arranged to meet somebody there?
I had arranged to meet Danny Bradley there, Kate. He brought me out in his father's blue boat. I didn't want anything to eat, Maggie. I brought a bottle of milk and a pack of chocolate biscuits with me, and we had a picnic on the lake. Then the 2 of us went up through the back hills. He showed me what was left of the Lugnasa fires. A few of them are still burning away up there. We passed young Sweeney's house. You know, the boy that got burned, the boy you said was dying. Well, he's on the mend, Danny says. His legs will be scarred, but he'll be all right. It's a very peaceful place up there. There was nobody there but Danny and me. He calls me his rosebud, Aggie. I told you that before, didn't I? Then he walked me down as far as the workhouse gate, and I came on home by myself. And that's all I'm going to tell you. That's all any of you are going to hear.
What has happened to this house? Mother of God. Will we ever be able to lift our heads up again, ever?
Following night, Vera McLaughlin arrived and explained to Agnes and Rose why she couldn't buy their hand-knitted gloves anymore. Most of her home knitters were already working in the new factory, and she advised Agnes and Rose to apply immediately. The Industrial Revolution had finally caught up with Ballybeg. They didn't apply, even though they had no other means of making a living, and they never discussed their situation with their sisters. Perhaps Agnes made the decision for both of them because she knew Rose wouldn't have got work there anyway. Or perhaps, as Kate believed, because Agnes was too notionate to work in a factory. Or perhaps the two of them just wanted away. Anyhow, on my first day back at school, when we came into the kitchen for breakfast, there was a note propped up against the milk jug. "We are gone for good. This is best for all. Do not try to find us." It was written in Agnes's resolute hand. Of course, they did try to find them. So did the police, so did our neighbors, who had a huge network of relatives all over England and America. But they had vanished without trace. And by the time I tracked them down, 25 years later in London, Agnes was dead, and Rose was dying in a hospice for the destitute in Southwark. The scraps of information I gathered about their lives during the missing years were too sparse to be coherent. They had moved about a lot. They had worked as cleaning women in public toilets and factories in the underground. And then when Rose could no longer get work, Agnes tried to support them both, but couldn't. From then on, I gathered they gave up. They took to drink, slept in parks, in doorways, on the Thames embankment. And then Agnes died of exposure. And after 2 days, after I found Rose in that grim hospice, she didn't recognize me, of course. She died in her sleep. Father Jack's health improved quickly, and he soon recovered his full vocabulary and all his old bounce and vigor. But he didn't say Mass that following Monday. In fact, he never said Mass again. And the neighbors stopped inquiring about him, and his name never again appeared in the Donegal Inquirer. And of course, there was never a civic reception with bonds and flags and speeches. But he never lost his determination to return to Uganda, and he still talked passionately about his life with the lepers there. And each new anecdote contained more revelations, and each new revelation startled, shocked, stunned poor Aunt Kate, until finally she hit on a phrase that appeased her. His own distinctive spiritual speech. Leaping about a fire and offering a little hen to Uka or Ito, whoever is not religion, as I was taught it, and indeed know it, she would say with a defiant toss of her head. But then Jack must make his own distinctive search. And when he died suddenly of a heart attack within a year of his homecoming, on the very eve of the following At Lugnasa, my mother and Maggie mourned him sorely, but for months Kate was inconsolable. My father sailed for Spain that Saturday, and the last I saw of him, he was dancing down the lane in imitation of Fred Astaire, swinging his walking stick, Uncle Jack's ceremonial tricorn at a jaunty angle over his left eye. And when he got to the main road, he stopped and turned, and with both hands blew 1,000 theatrical kisses back to Mother and me. He was wounded in Barcelona, where he fell off his motorbike, so that for the rest of his life he walked with a limp. The limp wasn't disabling, but it put an end to his dancing days, and that really distressed him. And even the role of Maine veteran, which he loved, could never compensate for that. He still visited us occasionally, perhaps once a year, And each time he was on the brink of a new career. And each time he proposed to Mother and promised me a new bike. And then the war came in 1939. His visits became more infrequent, and finally he stopped coming altogether. And sometime in the mid-50s, I got a letter from a tiny village in the south of Wales, a curt note from a young man of my own age and also called Michael Evans. He had found my name and address among the belongings of his father, Gerry Evans. So he introduced himself as my half-brother, and he wanted me to know that Gerry Evans, the father we shared, had died peacefully in the family home the previous week. Throughout his final illness, he was nursed by his wife and his 3 grown children, who all lived and worked in the village. My mother never knew of that letter. I decided to tell her, decided not to, vacillated for years, as my father would have done, and eventually, rightly or wrongly, kept the information to myself.
Maggie, Chris, Kate, and Agnes now resume their tasks.
Well, at least that's good news.
What's that?
That the young Sweeney boy from the back hills is going to live.
Good news indeed.
Michael, where are you? We need some turf brought in. Are you still up there?
Don't stand there, I might fall on you.
Have you any idea what you're doing?
Come on up here to me.
I'm sure I will.
We never made love on the top of a sycamore tree.
If you fall and break your neck, it'll be too good for you. Nobody can vanish quicker than that Michael fellow when you need him.
I had a brilliant idea when I woke up this morning, Aggie. I thought to myself, what is it that Ballybeg badly needs and that Ballybeg hasn't got?
A riddle. Give up.
A dressmaker. So, why doesn't Agnes Mundy, who has such clever hands, why doesn't she dressmake?
Clever hands.
She'd get a pile of work. They'd come to her from far and wide. She'd make a fortune.
Some fortune in Ballybeg.
And not only would the work be interesting, but she wouldn't be ruining her eyes staring at gray wool 8 hours a day. Did you notice how Rosie squints all things now? It's the job for you, Aggie. I'm telling you. Oh, holy God, girls, don't tell me I'm out of facts. How could that happen? Chrissy, you're one genius. Look, Kate. Misery. Happiness. Wanna try?
Who's keeping those wonderful eggs, Ballybeg?
If I had to choose between one wild woodbine and a man of, say, 52, widower plump, what would I do, Kate? I'd take Fatso, wouldn't I? God, I really am getting desperate. Maybe I should go to Rianga with you, Jack.
I know you won't, but I know you'd love it.
Could you guarantee a man for each of us?
I promise 4 men, but I should be able to. I should be able to get one husband for all of you.
Would you settle for that?
One between the 4 of us.
That's our system, and it works very well. One of you would be his principal wife and live with him in his largest hut.
That'd be you, Kate.
That's stop that, Maggie.
And the other 3 of you we keep in his enclosure. It would be like living on the same small farm.
Like in our girls, isn't it? And what sort of duties would we have?
Cooking, sewing, helping with the crops, washing, the usual housekeeping tasks.
Sure, that That's what we'd do anyway.
And looking after his children.
That he'd have by cake.
Maggie,
By all four of you. And that's what's so efficient about that system, is that the husband and his wives and his children make up a small commune where everybody helps everybody else and cares for them. I'm completely in favor of it.
it may be efficient and you may be in favor of it, Jack, but I don't think it's what Pope Pius XI considers to be the holy sacrament of matrimony. And it might be better for you if you paid just a bit more attention to our Holy Father and a bit less attention to the great goddess Iggy.
Listen,
And they have hands there too, Jack.
But we're overrun with heads.
Don't dismiss it, girls. It has its points. Would you be game, Kate?
Would you give my head peace, Maggie?
Gerry has it going.
Tell me this, Jack. What's this wily for? Chick, 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 chick.
You love the climate too, Kate.
I'm not listening to a word you're saying. Mm-mm.
Well, any good?
Listen,
Aha, leave it to the expert.
I have something for you, Gerry.
What's that?
The plumed hat. The ceremonial hat. Remember, we agreed to swap. With you in a second.
Good work, Gerry.
Thought it might be the Ariel, and that's the end of your troubles. Dance with me, Agnes.
Have a bit of sense, Gerry Evans.
Dance with me, please. Come on.
Dance with the Maggie. In olden times, a glimpse of...
Stocking was looked on as something shocking. Give me your hand.
Go on, Maggie.
Who wants to dance at this time of the night?
Anything goes, good authors too, who once knew better words, now only use for letter words, writing prose. Anything goes. If driving fast cars is what you like, if low bars you like, if old hymns you like, if bare limbs you like, if Mae West you like, or me undressed you like, well, nobody will oppose. When every night the smart is intruding in nudist parties in studios. Anything goes. Oh, you're a great dancer, Aggie.
No, I'm not.
You're a superb dancer.
No, I'm not.
You should be a professional dancer.
Too late for that.
You could teach dancing in Ballybeg.
That's all they need.
Maybe it is.
Bends down and kisses her on the forehead as this is seen but not heard by Chris at the kitchen window. Immediately after this kiss, Gerry bursts into song again, turns Agnes 4 or 5 times very rapidly, and dances her back into the kitchen.
There you are, safe and sound.
I wish to God I could dance like you, Aggie.
Oh, I haven't a breath.
Doesn't she dance elegantly?
Always did, our Aggie.
Unbelievable. Now, Chrissy, you and I.
not now. I wonder where Michael's got to.
Come on, Chrissy. Once around the floor.
Not now, I said. Are you thick?
I'll dance with you, Gerry. Do you want to see a real class?
Certainly do, Maggie.
Stand back there, girls. Shirley Temple needs a lot of space.
Wow, 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 wow.
Hold me close, Gerry. The old legs aren't too reliable. In olden times, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking, but no. La, la, la.
Look at that damned thing.
What happened?
What are you at there, Chrissy?
We're only wasting the battery and we won't get a new one till the weekend.
It wasn't to be, Gerry, but there'll be another day.
That's a promise, Maggie. Not a bad little set, that.
Peace. Thanks be to God. Do you know what that thing has done? Killed all Christian conversation in this country.
There, McLaughlin's calling here tomorrow. She wants to talk to you and Rose.
Agnes, unmute.
I'm muted. What about?
I didn't tell you, did I? Her daughter's got engaged.
Which of them?
The harvest dance is going to be just supreme this year, Miss Mundy, that wee brat.
Sophia. Is she not still at school?
Left last year. She's 15, and the lucky man is 16.
Holy God. We may pack it in, girls.
It's indecent, I'm telling you. 15 and 16. Don't tell me that's not totally improper. It's the poor mother I feel sorry for.
What does she want to talk to us about?
Something about wool. It didn't sound important. She probably won't call at all. Go ahead and dance, you two.
Artists like Margaret Mundy can't perform on demand, Chrissy. We need to be in touch with other forces first. Don't we, Gerry?
Absolutely. Why is there no sound?
Maggie, are we never going to eat?
Indeed we are. Outside in the garden. Ex Ballybeg al fresco. Lugnasa is almost over, girls. There aren't going to be many warm evenings left.
Good idea, Maggie.
I'll get the cups and plates.
Are you all right?
It's not Quannikin, is it?
Have I done something wrong?
I switched it on again, that's all I did.
Take out those chairs, Gerry.
What about the table?
We'll just spread a cloth on the ground.
Maggie exits with the cloth, which she spreads in the middle of the garden. Gerry kisses Chris lightly on the back of the neck.
At least we know it's not the aerial.
According to you.
It's not the aerial. The next thing to check is the ignition.
Ignition? Listen to that bluffer.
Bluffer? Did you hear what she called me? That's unfair, Agnes, isn't it? Let's take the back off and see what's what.
Rose enters the garden from the back of the house. At first, nobody notices her. She is dressed as in Act 1. On her right hand, she holds the dead rooster by the feet. Its feathers are ruffled and it's stained with blood. Rose is calm, almost matter of fact. Agnes sees her first and goes to her. Chris and Gerry join the others in the garden.
Rosie, what is it, Rosie?
My rooster's dead.
Oh, Rosie.
Look at him. He's dead.
What happened to him?
The fox must have got him.
Oh, poor Rosie.
Maggie warned me the fox was about again. That's the end of my pet rooster. The fox must have got him. You were right, Maggie.
Did he get at the hens?
I don't think so.
Was the door left open?
They're all right. They're safe.
That itself.
We'll get another white rooster for you, Rosie.
Doesn't matter.
And I'll put manners on him early on.
I don't want another.
Poor old Rosie. We can hardly expect him to lay for us now.
Where that Michael fellow got to? Michael! He hears me right here, you know. I'm sure he's joking about out there somewhere watching us. Michael!
All right, girls. What's missing? Knives, forks, plates? Jesus, Mary Joseph!
Jack is wearing a very soiled, very crumpled white uniform, a version of the uniform we saw him in at the beginning of the play. One of the epaulettes is hanging by a thread and the gold buttons are tarnished. The uniform is so large that it looks as if it was made for a much larger man. His hands are lost in the sleeves and the trousers trail on the ground. On his head he wears a tricorn ceremonial hat, once white like the uniform but not grubby. The plumage broken and tatty. He carries himself in military style, his army cane under his arm.
Gerry, my friend, where are you?
Out here, Jack.
There you are. I put on my ceremonial clothes for the formal exchange. There was a time when it fitted me, believe it or not. Wonderful uniform, isn't it?
Unbelievable. I could do with that for Spain.
It was my uniform when I was chaplain to the British Army during the Great War.
We know only too well what it is, Jack.
It's splendid. Well, it was splendid. Needs a bit of a clean-up. Okawa's always dressing up in it. I must really give it to him to keep.
It's not at all suitable for this climate, Jack.
You're right, Kate. Just for the ceremony, then I'll change back. Now, if I were at home, what I do when we swap a barter is this. I place my possession on the ground. Here, go ahead. Put it on the grass, anywhere, just at your feet. Now, take 3 steps away from it. Yes? A symbolic distancing of yourself from what you once possessed. Good. Now, turn around once, like this. Yes? A complete circle. And that's the formal rejection of what once you had. You no longer lay claim to it. Now I cross over to where you stand, right, and you come over to the position I have left. So, excellent. The exchange is now formally and irrevocably complete. This is my new straw hat, and there is your tricorn hat. Put it on. Splendid, and it suits you. Doesn't it suit him?
His head's too big.
What about that? Is that better, Agnes?
You're lovely.
In olden times, a glimpse of stocking was looking on as something shocking.
Now, what about this? Or like this, further back on the head?
Would you look at them, strutting about like a pair of peacocks. Now tea time.
I'll make the tea.
You can start again tomorrow. Let me finish off Lugnasa. Chrissy, put on Marconi.
I think it's broken again.
Gerry fixed it, didn't you?
Then Chrissy got at it again.
Possessed that thing, if you ask me.
I wish you wouldn't use words like that, Christina. There's still a great heat in the sun.
Great harvest weather.
I love September.
Cooking time, girls.
Wait a while, Maggie. Enjoy the bit of heat that's left.
Next Sunday then. Is that all right?
What's next Sunday?
We'll get some bilberries.
Yes. Yes, whatever you say, Aggie.
Gerry examines the kites.
Not bad for a kid of 7. Very neatly made.
Wait,
Very neatly.
look at the artwork.
Wow, 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 wow. That is unbelievable.
I keep telling his mother she has a very talented son.
So there, Mr. Evans.
Have you all seen this?
I hate them.
I think they're just wonderful. Look, Jack.
For the first time, we see all the images. On each kite is painted a crude, cruel, grinning face, primitively drawn, garishly painted. Gerry.
I'll tell you something. This boy isn't going to end up selling gramophones.
Michael! He always vanishes when there's work to be done.
I have a riddle for you. Why is a gramophone like a parrot?
Maggie.
Because a parrot. God, I've forgotten.
Maggie moves into the kitchen. Michael enters. The characters are now in positions similar to the positions at the beginning of the play, with some changes. Agnes and Gerry are on the garden seat. Jack stands stiffly to attention at Agnes's elbow. One kite, facing boldly out front, stands between Gerry and Agnes. The other between Agnes and Jack. Rose is upstage left. Maggie is at the kitchen window. Kate is down right. Chris is at the front door. During Michael's speech, Kate cries quietly. As Michael begins to speak, the stage is lit in a very soft golden light so that the tableau we see is almost, but not quite, in a haze.
As I said, Father Jack was dead within 12 months. And with him, and Agnes and Rose all gone, a heart seemed to go out of the house. Maggie took on the tasks Rose and Agnes had done and pretended to believe that nothing had changed. My mother spent the rest of her life in the knitting factory and hated every day of it. And after a few years doing nothing, Kate got the job of tutoring the young family of Austin Morgan of the arcade. But much of the spirit and fun had gone out of their lives, and when my time came to go away, in the selfish way of young men, I was happy to escape.
Fade in the music. It's time to say goodnight. And Michael continues. Everybody sways very slightly from side to side, even the grinning kites. The movement is so minimal that we cannot be quite certain if it's happening or if we imagine it.
And so, when I cast my mind back to that summer of 1936, different kinds of memories offer themselves to me. But there is one memory of that Lugnasa time that visits me most often. And what fascinates me about that memory is that it owes nothing to fact. In that memory, atmosphere is more real than incident, and everything is simultaneously actual and illusory. In that memory, too, the air is nostalgic with the music of the 30s. It drifts in from somewhere far away, a mirage of sound, a dream music that is both heard and imagined. It seems to be both itself and its own echo, a sound so alluring and so mesmeric that the afternoon is bewitched, maybe haunted by it. And what is so strange about that memory is that everybody seems to be floating on those sweet sounds, moving rhythmically, languorously, in complete isolation, responding more to the mood of the music than to its beat. And when I remember it, I think of it as dancing. Dancing with eyes half closed, because to open them would break the spell. Dancing as if language had surrendered to movement, and as if this ritual, this wordless ceremony, was now the way to speak, to whisper private and sacred things, to be in touch with some otherness, and dancing as if the very heart of life and all its hopes might be found in those assuaging notes, in those hushed rhythms, and in those silent and hypnotic movements. And dancing as if language no longer existed, because words were no longer necessary.
End of play.